of people are waiting for permission from the bishops, and the bishops don't actually know that they're waiting for permission to do the things. And I have to say to you, what's holding you back? If you've got a bright idea in your deanery, why don't you just get on and do it? I have discovered through long experience in the church that forgiveness is far easier to receive than permission. I've also discovered through more recent experience of hanging around with bishops that, to be honest, their main concern is that the church thrives, or at least the majority concern is that the church thrives, rather than it does things in particular ways. I had a really interesting conversation with my daughter the other day. Since she's been 8 years old, she's always wanted to be a doctor. But now is the time when she needs to put in the UCAS application, so the application to go to university. We were walking the dog together, and she said to me, "Dad, what do you really think I should be doing with my life?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, what career do you think I should follow?" And I said to her, "Love, I have always supported and encouraged you in what you think you should be doing." She said, "I know, but you're dodging the question," because she knows me too well. So I did the mental equivalent of sitting back, although we were walking the dog, and I said, "I think the thing I would say to you is I have very deliberately not spent time thinking about what career I think you should follow, because I see too many people squeezing their children into their own image. So I can tell you that I think you will be working with people, because I see that with you. I can tell you that I think you want to make a difference to the world and see people's lives enriched. I can tell you that you have a fantastic brain, and unless you use it, you will get frustrated." I listed a huge number of things, because she's absolutely superb. Watch out for her in the future. I said, "What I can't tell you is that I think you should be X, Y, or Z, because I have deliberately not thought about it." Now, I can't speak for all bishops, but I can say on my own behalf, and observe that this is not an uncommon view, that I cannot and will not tell you what I want the deaneries in Newcastle Diocese to be precisely. I can tell you all sorts of things which are essential to me that they are there, but I don't think they would be controversial, missional, compassionate, kind, generous, having fun. I mean, I could list them for you. But frankly, if a deanery in the diocese came up and said, "We are really committed to do X, Y, Z," I would ask whether it fits with the general direction that we're moving in the Diocese of Growing Church, Bringing Hope. But it's never the bishop's role to say, "No, you cannot do this." In fact, I think Bishop Christine and I dance a quiet little merry jig, not literally, but maybe we should. When we hear of life springing up in this deanery or that deanery, I told you about Norham yesterday, what's holding you back? Go for it. You have far more permission than I think you realise you do. Nick asked the question, why are we frozen, not free? And I found myself wanting to stand at the back and go, "Let it go, let it go. Don't hold it back anymore." Tenthly, and herein perhaps my most controversial point, and I apologise if I offend anyone. I have spent the weekend asking, what on earth are we doing here? What's the National Deaneries Network really about? There's a national gathering of deanery lay chairs, for example, or lay deans, or whatever they're called in your particular diocese. There are conferences, about setting God's people free, or so on and so forth. What's the distinctive vocation of this gathering? And I don't say it because I think it doesn't have one. I say it because actually we're all busy people, and we've given up a weekend and spent money and time to come and be here. So why? And going on from this, actually, what difference will this now make? And I found myself wondering this. Might this gathering, indeed if the title is correct, might this network actually be called to be serving as the deanery to the deaneries? Might it be that the stuff that we've been talking about on a deanery level actually matters for those who are shaping the deaneries to be engaged with at a kind of meta level? If partnership really matters, and you're trying to do something different, and again, we heard this in the York story, you probably need to engage with it not just within the deanery, but with other people who are doing it as well. And so in a few minutes, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say one of the two of the things that you want to do. And if you're really brave, I want to encourage you over coffee to find somebody else who wants to do something like what you want to do. It's not a very good sentence, but you understand what I mean. And go and find them and say, can we stay in conversation? Indeed, maybe even, can we be a bit accountable to each other about this? Let me give you an example. It may well be that there's a deanery, an area dean, that's the word I'm looking for here, who's thinking, I do not work with my lay chair in the way that I've heard that York works with their lay deans. So I'm going to go and find one of the area deans from York Diocese, and I'm going to say, can you just walk with me over the next few months? And I'm just going to run things past you, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to try this, and I want you to ask me, have you tried this, and how did it go? I think that kind of thing, in my experience, makes a huge difference to getting things done. That kind of mutual networking support. Maybe the vocation of this place is to be the deanery to deaneries. And finally, let me come back to where I started, which was an accidental thought at 6 a.m. yesterday morning, but has stayed with me as something that might possibly be of the Spirit. And it's that opening line yesterday. Wherever I am, there's always poo. It is, of course, a deliberate double entendre. When you listen to people talk about deaneries around the country, very often they are negative. They will say, pretty much, whenever I go, there's always poo. But the genius of that poem is the way that A.A. Milne turns that round to remind us of that deep childlike, and I think it is childlike, not childish, childlike need for companionship. So wherever I am, there's always poo. There's always poo and me. What would I do, I said to poo, if it wasn't for you? And poo said true. It isn't much fun for one, but two can stick together, says poo, says he. That's how it is, says poo. Well, those are my observations. I'm just going to give you 4 or 5 minutes just on my watch list, quarter past, around your tables to buzz and reflect. Please remember that A, I might not be right, and B, I certainly won't have spotted everything. And then we're going to have a bit of time to feedback before I ask you what you actually want to do.